I am very, very new to vlogging, and already I am having to deal with things like a sleeping dog and a sleeping baby. But anyway, I promised my lovely followers on Instagram that I would do this, so here I am. Today's vlog is about parent loss. Obviously, it was Mother's Day last weekend, and for a lot of people, that can be a really, really, really difficult and sad time, myself included. I was 9 years old when my mum was first diagnosed with breast cancer. She was only 30, and yeah, she was 35 when she died. It was difficult to go through something like that anyway, but to lose your mum just as you're embarking on your teenage years and you're going through puberty and all the kind of things that life starts to throw at you from that point have been things that I've had to fumble my way through without the guidance of having a mum. I wrote a blog post on Mother's Day. I'm going to link that below in the description box, so if I start to ramble and you want something a bit more concise, you can go and read that. But basically, it was talking about how when you lose a parent, you kind of have a bit of a double whammy of grief. You grieve for the person that you've lost, like your own mum or dad, the person that they were, the things that you used to do together, the relationship that you had, but you also grieve for the role that they play as a parent. Mums and dads are very important to most people. I know not everyone has a great relationship with them, and obviously that's a different kettle of fish entirely, but for most people I think parents are a really important part of your life. They support you and they protect you. As a mum myself, I can't imagine there ever being a time where I'm not going to be there for my children, even when they're grown-ups, even when they're following their own paths. I can't imagine a time where I won't want to still be there for them. So you have to kind of grieve that as well. You lose your parent, but you also lose a parent. It's quite a big transition and a big adjustment for anybody to go through. So I asked on Instagram if anybody had anything specific that they would like me to cover in this vlog. I've just sort of launched into it without even thinking about what I was going to say, because Rufus fallen asleep on the sofa and I was like, great, I can get this filmed. And now I'm thinking maybe I should have prepared for this first. Okay, so the first message I got was from somebody whose husband has lost a parent, and her question was, how does she deal with him? How do you be there for someone and how do you support them through the loss of a parent? Now, obviously everyone's going to be really, really, really different in this situation. People are going to grieve differently. People are going to cope differently and react differently. For me, I've always been really, really open about talking about my mum. It's an odd one because it really makes people feel very, very awkward. All through my teenage life, when I met new people, people would always ask, oh, like, what does your mum do? Like when I started uni, like, is your mum coming to visit? And always, it was such a conversation killer to say, actually, my mum's dead. It's really difficult for people to hear, and it's really difficult for people to know how to respond to that. And even if you're in a close relationship with someone, it's the unknown. It's not a common thing to lose a parent when you're young. So for anybody, whether it's someone that you're just meeting for the first time or someone that you've been married to for 10 years, it can be a bit tricky and a bit awkward to know what to say. To be honest, as you know, I am a talker. I like to talk about things, sad things. I like to be open and honest about things. Not everybody's like that. I guess if you know somebody who's lost a parent or is going through losing a parent and you're just struggling to find the right thing to say, you just need to let them lead the way, I think. If they seem like they want to talk about it, let them talk about it. It's not awkward, it's not weird. If they're ready, if they want to talk about it, then don't feel like it's going to make them sad or anything. If it's something they want to do, then let them do it. I talk about my mum all the time. My husband never met her, so I like to tell him about her, and I like to tell the kids about her, because for me, I don't want to forget her, and I don't really want the people that are so important in my life now to not know about the lady who was so important in my life then. But equally, if people don't want to talk about it, don't force them. Some people find it just really, really difficult, and that's okay. Personally, I don't think anything good can come from bottling things up, but that's how some people deal with things, and that's their prerogative, so don't force them. But yeah, really simply, just be there for them and let them know you're more than happy to talk about it if they want to. I hope that makes sense and is helpful to some extent. So another message I got was about parenting without role models. So when you become a parent yourself, having lost a parent previously, yeah, I totally get that. It's really difficult when you become a mum or dad for the first time. I think instinctively you would look to your own parents for a bit of guidance, advice, knowledge, and when that's not available, it can be really difficult to find your way. In some ways, I feel like it's benefited me, which might sound a bit odd, but everything that I've done as a parent or as a mum has been because I feel like that's the best thing for my children. None of it has been pushed in a certain direction. Because I have got friends whose mums are very hands-on and they're very involved, and mostly that just makes me really jealous, but also I see that maybe sometimes they feel like they're obliged to do things that they're not necessarily comfortable with, particularly because it's different generations and obviously the advice changes all the time. I know that there have been parents who sort of say, well, I put you in your own room at 2 weeks old and it never did you any harm, and at least in that respect, I've never had that. Everything I've done because I felt it was the right thing to do. But equally, there have been things where I haven't had a clue what to do, and all I've wanted is to be able to ring my mum and say, help me. And I can't do that, obviously. I think for women, losing their mum, I think particularly when you come to talking about pregnancy, labour, and being a mum yourself, you know, I can't really talk to my dad about having stitches in my vagina. Really, we don't have that kind of relationship. Maybe some people do. Obviously, with my miscarriages, I know that my mum had one miscarriage. I don't know anything else about it. I don't know when it was. I don't know what the situation was. I don't know if there was a reason for it. So now going through all this myself, I don't really know if there's any family history. And it's just the same with other things. Like, there's no one really to kind of say, oh, well, what age did I do this? And did I ever go through that phase? And how do you think I can help him get through this stage? And when will I ever get to sleep again? So yeah, you just have to kind of fumble your way. And that's one of the harder things. Like I say, I lost my mum when I was a kid. So there was a big period of time there where I was just kind of going through childhood really without a mum. And then I hit motherhood without a mum. And that was a different thing entirely. And that's had its own challenges. But I do think more than anything, becoming a mum has made me really, really, really appreciate my mum. There's nothing really can be done. Obviously, it depends on the relationship that you've got with other family members. I'm quite close to my gran and obviously my dad as well. It is a huge, huge, huge thing to be missing when you embark on motherhood and all that entails, trying to figure things out and you don't have that person to turn to. You really have to learn to trust your own judgment. So somebody else on Instagram mentioned about coping through your teenage years into adulthood, which I have experience with. My mum died the day before my 14th birthday. She was ill from when I was 9 years old, so that whole kind of period of where you sort of stop being a child and you gradually go through your teens and then you become a grown-up, all of that was done without my mum. And it's a really difficult time anyway. I think you're kind of struggling with all these crazy hormones, you've got all these exams at school, you're fumbling your way through the dynamics of different friendships, maybe first boyfriends or girlfriends. You have to decide sort of what you want to do with your life, what career you're going to have, if you're going to go to university, how you're going to pay for university. It's a huge time in anyone's life, and when you're doing that without a parent, it's very tricky. I was always quite a geeky kid. I was quite academic. Everyone had very high hopes for me. And then my mum died and I sort of lost my way a bit. I didn't work as hard as I should have or would have done in my exams if my mum had been around. I ended up at a university that I hadn't considered because I had to go through clearing. I didn't really put a great deal of thought into what I studied. It's all fine, it all kind of worked out in the end. I got my performing arts degree. I've had a couple of jobs since leaving uni. I am now a stay-at-home mum, just bumming around, not doing much, relying on my husband to pay the bills. But yeah, I bought my own home when I was 21 and I had a nice job and I was a very independent lady, and I feel like I've done all right. There were times when things could have gone drastically wrong, but I think I pulled it back from the brink and I've done okay. But other people don't. It's so easy to kind of give up or just fall by the wayside, I think, when you don't have that kind of pillar of support that your parent would provide usually in those circumstances. So if you know somebody who's going through it, I don't know, I think all you can really do is be there. My sister was about 6 years younger than me, and we had a few big fallouts actually when she was going through university. I was trying to get her to pull her finger out, basically. She didn't really value my interference, and our relationship really suffered because of that. But I felt like someone had to do something, and then obviously without our mum there, I kind of felt like that fell on my shoulders, but she perhaps didn't agree. So yeah, I think you just really just need to be there. There were so many times where I kind of felt completely alone. When you're going through that, it can be a really barren place, and unless you have people literally jumping up and down on the sidelines shouting, I'm here, let me help you, maybe you do just feel really lonely. And particularly as a teenager, I think you read so much into everything and you kind of really overthink everything. Just little things like family dinners and stuff that when I was at uni that I didn't get invited to. I didn't get invited to them probably because I was in Liverpool and it was quite a big drive. But for me, it was like, I'm not invited because they've forgotten me. It can be a weird time. Anyway, so I think I've kind of covered everything that people asked me on Instagram. I feel like it's actually such a huge thing. Now that I've started, I feel like I could actually yammer on for hours. I won't put you through that, but if you are interested in knowing anything else about parent loss, if you want to know more about me and my mum or anything like that, let me know and maybe I'll make another video about this. And I'll put all the details below. You can track me down on Instagram, Twitter. Please track me down on Twitter. I've got like no followers. It's really embarrassing. So if you come find me on there and follow me, that would be grand. I'm on Facebook. I've got my website where my blog posts are, and actually if you scoot back through my blog posts, there's quite a few about my mum if you're interested in those. I'm on here, obviously you can comment on here. I'll put my email as well, so yeah, if you want to contact me, talk to me about any of these things, or you would like me to make another video going into a bit more detail about anything specific that I've touched on today, let me know. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. If you've made it this far, well done. I would love it if you haven't already, if you could subscribe. That would be really cool. That's it. Anyway, I'm sorry for yammering on so much.